guys, so today I'm going to show you another really cool looking card trick, and I have Sam once again to help me out. So, are you ready for this next one here?
Absolutely.
Alright, so for this, we will shuffle the cards once again, and I actually just need a small pile of cards, so you can just kind of say stop whenever you want.
Stop.
Right here? Okay, it doesn't really matter. So we'll take these cards over here, and we're going to split them into two piles because I would like you to have one and me to have one, but it's up to you which one you have, so you can go ahead and choose which one. Okay, take it and just hold on to it like this. We don't need the rest of the deck anymore, but I just want us to look through each other's piles right now and see if we have any type of coincidence between each other. So maybe the top card here, oh, we got two clubs, maybe it's something. I'll move the next one. Nothing really there. Anything. Okay, well, the point is there's no real coincidence, right, between these cards, okay? And that's really what I'm trying to get at here. We're gonna try to make our piles have some sort of coincidence between the two of them. But before we do that, we need to shuffle these cards even more, just to make it even more random, okay? And I'm gonna show you how to shuffle these cards. So you can either deal the cards down singly like this, or you can take the next two cards and kind of swap them around. So that'll shuffle the order around, you know? So you can do that as many times as you like. It's up to you.
One more.
Yeah, one more, that's fine. I'll probably stop here. And I'm gonna spread the cards out when I'm done. Okay,
Cool.
and you can go ahead and spread the cards out this way. Okay, perfect. Because now we're gonna take a look at the state of our two piles. So you can agree that was completely in your hands. You shuffled those cards the way that you wanted to shuffle them.
Yes.
Okay. How crazy would it be if these two piles had some sort of coincidence between the two of them? Let's go ahead and take a look. Take a look at the top card of yours. We have two fours. The next one. Two threes. Next one. Twos. Queens. Kings. Fives. Tens. The entire pile is now perfectly matching.
Wow.
And that's the trick, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. And if you did, be sure to stick around for the tutorial. All right, guys, so here's the tutorial for the trick that you just saw. So believe it or not, this trick is actually extremely easy to do, and it's almost self-working. There's really only a few sleights that you have to learn, but once you do that, this trick is very, very easy and simple to perform. So let's get into how it's actually done here. So there is a setup for this trick. It's not an impromptu trick, unfortunately, but the setup is pretty simple to get into. You are just gonna need to find any 9 random cards that you want. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards here. And then you're gonna wanna get out the exact pairs or the soulmates to these 9 cards, and you're gonna wanna set them up in the exact order here. As you can see, both of these piles are in the same exact order. And once you have these cards prepared, you're just gonna place one on top of the other so that you have now one big pile here, one big stack, and this is gonna go on top of the deck. And you can just remember that the 2 of spades was the bottom card on the stack. So now you can actually come out to the spectator and you can begin in this position. You can actually give the cards a couple of shuffles, as long as you don't shuffle a little more than halfway up, because that's where your stack is. So as long as you shuffle only the bottom half of the deck, you should be okay. At this point, you can show the spectator all the cards are different if you want to do that. And then I would find my 2 of spades and then catch a break and just hold on to that break there. Maybe turn the cards over, exposing that break, and then catch the break again. That would be one way to do it. But essentially, you want to get a break where your stack is located. So that's right about here. The cool thing about this packet here is that it's actually in cyclical order, which means you can actually cut the cards as many times as you want within this stack, and it won't really be disturbed because now the cards are still going to be, in the same order here. If we split it directly in half, you'll see they're both starting with the 3s here and then the 6s, so it doesn't really matter where you actually cut the cards, it will always be matching. And that's what you can use to your benefit here when you're telling the spectator to say stop at any point, because what I did in the performance was I spread off about half the cards or maybe a quarter of them from the stack, and then I just dropped them on the table. And then here, I kind of just spread until I had my spectator say stop, which was right at my break, thankfully. But if you're not comfortable with having the spectator say stop right at the break, you can just spread the cards yourself, and you don't have to have the spectator say stop or anything. You can just say that we're going to take a small packet of cards here off the top, maybe that many is fine. And that right there will be enough to put you in this position, which is your stack right here. So once you do this, you can actually remove the deck from the table, you can get rid of it, and you are going to go ahead and deal 2 alternating piles of cards, left, right. And it's actually very important for this next part to keep track of which pile is which. And the easiest way to remember these two piles is you're gonna just say these two numbers in your head while you're dealing the piles from left to right. So the first pile on your left, pretend it's the number 4. And then the pile on your right, pretend it's the number 5. So constantly in your head, you're gonna be saying 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, just so that you can remember those two numbers. And I'll explain what those two numbers mean in a second. Now you're gonna let the spectator have a free choice at which pile they want to. They can either choose the 4 pile here or the 5 pile. Obviously, you're not gonna say that. Those two numbers are only in your head. So there's two different things that can happen in this trick now, is they can either choose the 4 or the 5 pile. I'm gonna go through both options here, just so that you guys can see what will happen if either pile is chosen. So let's say they go ahead and choose the 4 pile here. So that means I now have the 5 pile, okay? So that number 5 means in order to set up this deck correctly for this trick to work, I have to take 5 cards from the top and cut them to the bottom. And that's how the trick will work. So if I take the top 5 cards from the 5 pile and move them to the bottom, then the trick will be working. But let's say if the spectator chooses the 5 pile, now I'm left with the 4 pile. You probably guessed it, since this is the 4 pile, I actually need to take 4 cards from this pile and move it to the bottom in order for the trick to work. So that's really just one thing you have to remember, is this is the 4 pile and this is the 5 pile. And now the spectators have a free choice of which one to choose. Let's say in this case, they choose the 5 pile. How you're gonna make it natural in order to cut the 4 cards to the bottom for the trick to work, you're gonna do this under the guise of explaining what these piles are for. And you're gonna say that we're gonna see if we have some type of coincidence between the two of us. So what you're gonna do is flip over the top card of your pile, and the spectator is gonna flip over the top card of their pile. Obviously, these two cards are gonna be not matching whatsoever. Then you're gonna flip over the next one, see if there's anything here, and they're gonna say, no, there's nothing here. And then you flip over the third one, and they say, no, there's nothing there. And then you flip over the 4th one here and you say there's nothing there. And then at this point, you just kind of explain that, there's no real coincidence here between the two of us, right? And as you say this, you're just gonna take both your hands here, you're just kind of talking, moving them around, and eventually you're gonna want your right hand to become lower than your left hand. Or in other words, you want the hand holding the 4 cards to eventually become lower than the left hand holding the rest of the pack. Because essentially what you're gonna be doing is now putting the cards back together, but these 4 cards that were originally on top are now being moved to the bottom secretly. And you actually make sure the spectator puts their cards back on top, make sure they don't copy you and put the cards on the bottom, because now the cards are in the position for this trick to work. So what that just did is it actually made the piles perfectly match. So now all the cards, if I go through every single one, they will be perfectly matching. So now we're gonna get into the shuffling process of the trick. And this part is very important that you explain it very, very carefully, and you wanna make sure that the spectator does not mess this up. So you explain to them that they can deal the cards out or they can swap the cards like this. And swapping means taking the next card on top of the next card, just like so. Because a lot of people do this when I explain swapping. So I explain it like this, but then they do it like this. They just take the next 2 cards and they don't swap them around. You have to make sure that they swap the cards around, because what this is doing is it's actually just dealing the cards down onto the table, and it's not shuffling them at all. This entire swapping illusion that you're showing them, it looks like you're shuffling the cards, but in reality, you're just putting one card underneath the next one, which is exactly what dealing cards is. So that's essentially what you're doing here, but it looks like you're shuffling the cards. And you're gonna explain to the spectator that they can actually do this in their own hands. So now they are gonna go ahead and do this as many times as they want, but you just wanna make sure you keep track of how many times they do the deal swap process, and they can do it once, twice, 3 times. It doesn't matter how many times they do it, but you wanna make sure, because you wanna match exactly how many times they do it. So if they do it once, you should do it only once, and if they do it twice, then you should do it twice as well. So I don't know if so I should do it one more time because I did not pay attention. Once you and the spectator have finished doing this deal swap process, then the trick is over. You are gonna spread out your pile, and then you have the spectator spread out their pile as well, or you can spread it out for them. Just make sure they're all like in the same orientation here, because now you're gonna put your hand on your pile and the spectator's gonna put their hand on their pile, and you guys are gonna flip over the cards together. And you guys will both be able to see that all of these cards are gonna be matching from top to bottom. And it's just a really, really nice moment, because it just seems impossible, because the spectator was the one shuffling their pile the entire time, and there's just no way that you could have predicted that order. And yeah, it's a pretty nice little illusion right there. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. I think it's a pretty cool trick. I would definitely give it a try, see how it goes. Let me know how it goes in the comments as well. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this trick and see you guys next time. Bye.